All right. Welcome back to another episode of Usapang Musiko Season 2. And for today's episode, I think it's quite relevant right now, especially within the pandemic. Uh, a lot of people are going to graduate soon and uh, want to continue or pursue their careers in college and university and stuff. And I think it's a good time to really talk about uh, things they should consider if they want to go to music schools. Okay. So basically, I won't touch into like tuition fees and everything like that. Those things like or the distance between your school will not will not talk about those things, but we will talk about things that are relevant maybe after your graduation. If you think that you're really going to a music school, no, to be a professional musician or music teacher, whatever goals you are about to set in your life, we will talk about those things. And I have listed at least 6 things you should consider in choosing the right school where you would enroll eventually. No? Um, of course, we can't really talk about distance or how far you are because, of course, right now everything's online. But these things are things that you will need to understand, especially if you are really going to schools. But some of those things you can consider maybe in the long run because usually the music course, the programs usually take up to 5 years now. We are doing a lot of things online and we are missing performances. But after theaters and all of those things open up, some things you need to consider are your chances to perform. And we will talk about all these things. First of all, how relevant is the school that you came from to the work that you are going to get? To be honest, I feel that for music, it's not like in other corporate uh, settings, like, oh, this uh, applicant came from this school, so we should hire him or we should hire her. Depends, no? There's a lot of things that the school factor is like a huge thing. It gives you a lot of leverage for other jobs or other um, career opportunities. But for me, I think for music schools in general and for music in the industry, it doesn't really matter too much. It just matters on paper because what matters is your work ethic, your performance, and of course, your auditions. Because a lot of times, it doesn't really require a degree to get into certain jobs in music, diba? So it's not, it's just something that you should also consider. But of course, having a music degree will help you a lot in the things that you need to do. No? Because of course, if you work in an industry where you took relevant studies for, I think it's gonna benefit you in the long run. So yeah, it will really depend on what work you need, what work you will go after graduation. But basically, that won't matter too much, especially on paper. Like if they see, oh, you came from this school, but your audition wasn't that good, so it's still not really that big of a leverage or a factor. So here are some of the things you need to consider. So I'm going to mostly talk about schools here in the Philippines, especially in Manila. No? So we have a lot of music schools popping up here and there, and we have a lot of music schools that are well established. And yeah, you have to really do a lot of research if you want to go to a certain school and a certain music school, and for that matter, because of course the first one is program availability. So not a lot of music schools are here. We could say there's like around 5 or 6 music schools in the metro, but they don't offer all the same programs. Like for example, there is a program for pop music in Philippine Women's University that you don't really see on other schools for, and like you don't see that in UST, diba? There's no pop music program, or there's no like um in the NILD you don't have music education, no? As far as I know, it's music production, diba? It's different. So some of those things will matter. So of course, if you want to choose a school which specializes in this type of training, so you have to look for it, no? It's not all music schools will offer the same programs as each one. So, and also I don't know, because the curriculum now is different. There were times that the music schools differ in their approaches and curriculum. So also take a look at those things. Sometimes I have friends who transferred to different schools that their subjects weren't really credited. So that also is also a factor to consider. So your program, the program that you're gonna choose. So if you wanna teach, so music education, if you wanna perform, music performance, and if you wanna do the back end of the stuff like music production, no, you can check which part of the industry you want to be in after graduation, and try to get the best program that is applicable to your skill sets right now, and check out which school offers that. And that's the first thing. The second thing is the teachers or the faculty. Okay, so, of course, there are some schools which share the same faculty, the same roster. Some of them teach in two or three schools. So, for I think the most important thing to consider is your major teacher, or the teacher that will teach you your applied music, whatever instrument you might be handling, which instrument you want to take. So, you want to know who the faculty are, because that's like the most important part of going into university or colleges in learning music. The major teacher, or the teacher that will teach you your applied music, because they will shape you into who you will become after graduation, because of course you will spend most of your time with them. You develop a certain rapport, a certain relationship with your major teacher, and it's something you need to really think about when you're going to study. Because like for me, uh for 5 years I have only one major teacher, and we really had this strong bond with each other, no? And as my professor was growing old, I had to take lessons with his daughter. So we had also this relationship that is needed in order for you to really grow as a musician. You have to follow your teacher as much as you can, because they will really shape or make or break whatever skills you're learning. Because if you're not really in good terms with them, you'll suffer a lot in your college journey, no? So yeah, I think the roster of faculty, thinking who can be your teacher, is another thing to consider. Yeah, because of course if you don't like the teachers in the school, it's not, sometimes it's not just preference, it's about uh getting what you need. Of course you need to get something, but if you're not really connecting with the teacher and you have to change teachers, and you don't have any faculty left for you to change in, so it's going to be hard for you. You have to really transfer schools. So research about faculty, even try to have lessons with them before getting into the school, so that you have this develop this certain relationship with your teacher, that will help you out in the long run. So, of course, if you have a teacher who teaches in different schools, you might want to ask them their opinion on which school you should go to. No. So, that's the second thing, understanding which faculty or teachers you have. No. I mean, for the other subjects, theory subjects, and of course, general education subjects, you have to deal with it. But yeah, just consider your major professor or your major teacher. And then number three on that list is performance opportunities. Sorry, performance opportunities inside and outside the community. Okay, so of course, as a musician, you always want to perform. I mean, it's like the most common thing anyone can do, even if you're an education major. Sometimes, even if you're into music production, you still want to perform. And having a school that will give you a lot of opportunities, may it be like offline or online right now, no? Some schools are doing virtual performances. And of course, you can also, after the pandemic, maybe we can all go back to theaters and see performances. So you have to check out which schools can give you the opportunity to perform, not just in the community, but also outside the community of the school, no? Like in the industry where you're working, you want to work, something like that. To give you uh, exposure. And we'll talk about that later. It's also part of the list. But yeah, because you're not just going to study in the classroom and then perform solos every time. Sometimes you need to perform with a group because, to be quite honest, not everyone who graduates with a performance degree becomes a soloist. That's really like that's 1% of all the students in the world can only be solo performers after they graduate, no? It's really a hit or miss thing, but of course you need to have a job. You need to have a career, so you need to be able to perform maybe in a group or in an orchestra or whatever you need to be a part of to really get into the industry. And then the next thing is number four in this list is master classes and connections. So you have to consider how many opportunities other than performances. Like, does your school offer master classes from people across the globe, or do they offer certain trainings that you might not get if you're not studying there? No. Sometimes schools offer master classes for their students only, closed door master classes for students, because I think this will also come down to the faculty if they have connections, no? And of course, the relationship of the school with other schools as well, no? So, what am I talking about? For example, if your school is affiliated with another school abroad that does auditions for scholarships, like for masters and graduate school and all those things, of course you're the first one in line every time there is something that's going to happen, because you're the first one to know, no? For auditions for like um let's say other orchestras abroad, sometimes they do that. Sometimes work opportunity in theme parks, for example, they do that as well. In schools, they try to find students or graduating students to audition for them for their shows and stuff like that, so the connection of your school is also important, because of course, as much as we want to network, we can only network with the people that first we know. If we don't know a lot of people in the industry, that's going to be hard, no? And sometimes there are schools that are not really so open when it comes to connection. So you have to be aware of things. So how can you find out about those things? Check out their um, websites, or maybe even their pages on Facebook and on other social media platforms, as we have gotten online with almost everything. No? So check out. Oh, do they offer master classes in your field? Do they offer um, seminars or trainings that are relevant to your style of playing or to the style of which you want to produce music, for example, like that. And then the fifth thing is exposure to the industry. Okay, so not all schools have this, your opportunity to work, for example, in other fields. I mean, other places. For example, um, having a chance to work with other orchestras, professional level orchestras, no, collaborations with other groups, and things like that. So you're exposed to the industry. You connect with people that are not in your um, bracket, no, some professional level people, to really see what it's like to work outside the schools, because sometimes there are schools that really groom you to be good, but the thing is you're not up to the level of the outside industry, no. So you have to really check it, whether you're exposed enough, no. Do they give out, sometimes schools give out free tickets for their students to watch concerts, for example, like that, no. Sometimes there's schools that are giving free recitals that they invite other schools as well. So are you exposed to other people in your level as well and the professional level? And it's a really, really important thing to consider, because if you're just working inside the room, inside your studio, inside the classroom, or working online without really connecting with other students, other people, that are related to your um, industry, it's gonna be hard for you to really land the job that easily, or for your studies to actually pay off in a shorter span of time. So you really need to connect with people and expose yourself so that you can also check in yourself. Okay, am I at par with what they are doing? Am I good to see other people? Things like that. So you have to check it out. And I think one of the last things is scholarships and incentives. So not all music schools are created equal. No, there are a lot of music schools that don't have scholarships that are skill based. No, some don't have that. So you wanna also check that out. For example, in my school, we had orchestra scholarships. So if you're a member of the orchestra, you get scholarships. But however rate that may be is decided by, of course, the school and how much your performance is. So it would depend. And of course, if that would help you a lot, because of course we all know that schooling here in the Philippines is not uh cheap, no. I mean, I graduated 2017. I remember our last tuition fee in USD that time was like right around 55,000 pesos per sem. So that's almost like 1,000 plus dollars. I mean, it's cheap if you think about it in other countries, but it's still expensive for um the Filipino people, So you have to really look at those things. Of course, if you have scholarship opportunities, I'm talking about skill-based scholarship opportunities. No, not really, because I think a lot of schools will offer like working scholarships. But the thing about being a music student is that even though your load is low, you need a lot of practice time for yourself. So, given that you need a lot of time, if you are a working student, it's quite hard to really work and practice and learn at the same time. So if you can get a performance based incentive scholarship, something like that. For example, you won a competition. I think they a lot of schools also give those, no? And I think if your high school grade is good, they also give scholarships, no? I think this is universal. But the thing about skill based incentives is that sometimes, okay, if you're a scholar of the orchestra, of course, you have a lot of orchestra performances that you need to go to. And that will not hinder in any way with what you're doing, because that's part of what you need to do, right? I mean, if you're a musician, an orchestra musician, that's a good training ground for you. So you're getting your education, you're getting exposure, and you're getting a lot of stuff back. And I think that's quite important because, as we all know, education isn't cheap here in the Philippines. Yeah. So yeah. And I guess those are the six major things you need to consider. And again, going back to my first statement, that the school may not carry a big leverage down the road when you're applying for jobs and sort of things. But of course, the school will provide your training. So those are the things that you need to look at. But of course, you have to maximize your time in the school. So if you have a lot of learning opportunities in school, join all organizations you need to join so that you can grow as a better musician, no? Try to network, connect with other people in your industry, and try to get as much as you can, no? Because that's the important thing. It's not always just about, okay, this is the curriculum, you just follow the curriculum, or you just study. The thing about being a musician is not just studying inside the halls of the classroom and inside the halls of your studio. It's about going to different events, no? Hopefully we get back there 2 or 3 years more. But yeah, I think right now, no, we can see that there's a lot of still master classes going on virtually. Attend as much as you can, attend as much as you want, and of course, learn from all these things, because you're the only one who's gonna benefit from it. No, it's not your parents, it's not uh, your teachers, it's you who will get a lot of things if you work on it and if you consider all these things. Of course, distance may be not really a problem right now, but what if you're in the northern tip of the Philippines and you're going to study in Cagayan? Of course, Cagayan de Oro, 'di ba? There's a music school there. Of course, when the schools open, you won't be able to really go there, right? It's gonna be hard for you. So maybe distance will come in at a later point. But as of right now, these are the things you want to consider. Again, let's just round them off. Program availability, the faculty or the teachers that you're gonna have, performance opportunities in and out of the community or the school, master classes and the connections you can create, exposure to the industry, and of course, scholarships and incentives that you can get while studying. So, I hope this helps you out in your decision making in whatever school you want to go to. And yeah, I'll end this podcast here. Thank you for tuning in. This is Ryan Monakil for Usapang Musiko Season 2. Again, please do follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Of course, we have a new partner, which is Default Cafe Pub. So use my code Ryan Monakil to get 5% off your orders. And of course, my Udemy course is still available. Check it out on Udemy. It's called Principled Teaching in Violin Playing, the basic concepts. And reach out to my socials. All links down in the description box below. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.